Well, g'day, welcome back to another one. My name's Mike and I am a fan of both rugby and rugby league codes. I pretty much like them both equally, but I must admit when it comes to the All Blacks, there is nothing better for me. The All Blacks are the pinnacle of sport, in my opinion. They are my favourite team, and when it comes around to this time of year, every time it is exciting. There is no question there. This one has a lot going for it too. So what I'm talking about is the first team naming for the first test of the year. And if we also dig a little bit deeper, this is the first All Blacks team that Scott Razor-Robertson will be naming. It is going to be a pretty epic contest as well, or it's certainly shaping up to be. We don't often get the All Blacks first test being against a world-class team such as England. We normally play, say, a Pacific Island nation to get just a game under the belt for that squad coming together. However, we have an absolute cracker of a start, and if we all know that the All Blacks are the most vulnerable in the first test of the year. In this case, we're up against England, who are coming off a pretty good, strong World Cup campaign and a strong Six Nations campaign, who have played a warm-up game, so they do have that advantage. Of course, they've been travelling, and playing in New Zealand's tough for any side. The All Blacks the first test for this year is not at Eden Park as well. It's in Dunedin. So, the All Blacks are going to be hard to beat anywhere, but I feel like this is when they'll be the most vulnerable. And certainly from an England point of view, or an England fans point of view, this is one that England will be targeting as an opportunity. The second game, it's only a 2-game series. I wish we were getting a three test series here. But anyway, the second game's at Eden Park, and that's going to be a lot more difficult for England to win. So let's get into my team. Now, I've been relatively conservative on this team. Based on what I just said, I think that we should be reasonably conservative because I feel like this is going to be a hell of a challenge. England are going to be very fired up. So I've got a relatively consistent All Black lineup compared with what we saw at the World Cup and now in last year's games. There's a number of differences. I think I've counted about 9 in terms of players that are not there. But anyway, at number 1, prop, Ethan de Groot. He's had a pretty strong campaign for the Highlanders. He's the incumbent in that position at the moment. He started the World Cup final in that position. That's what I would pick. So I guess the caveat with every player I name, I'm thinking that this is what the All Blacks coaches will do, but I'm prepared for or expecting the odd curveball. However, I think they'll be playing it relatively safe as well. So Ethan de Groot at number 1, got Cody Taylor at number 2. He's our first pick hooker. Certainly with Takiaho out injured at the moment. But Cody Taylor would probably be that number 1 pick anyway. Just depends on whether, Takiaho started or Cody Taylor started. So Cody Taylor at hooker, starting number 2. Ofa Tu'ungafasi at number 3. He's been one of the strongest props in the Super Rugby competition this year. Of course, he wasn't starting prop at the World Cup. Tyrel Lomax was. But I think that Ofa Tu'ungafasi should be starting based on his experience. Again, we're up against England, but also experience and his form after a very strong Super Rugby campaign. At number 4, at lock, I've got Patrick Tuipulotu. I assume he'll be fit and ready to go, so I'm basing my pick from that point of view. He's well experienced. He has had an awesome Super Rugby campaign. The only question mark really is injury, and of course we've only named 3 locks in the All Black squad. Scott Barrett at number 5, the other locking partner to Patrick Tuipulotu. Pretty obvious. I mean, he's captain, so he's got to be in the mix there. Number 6, I really felt like number 6 was one of the hardest positions to name. I don't know what to expect. We are without Shannon Frizzell, but I've gone for Samipeni Finau. I think that Finau has had a very strong Super Rugby campaign. He's physical. The Chiefs, it was very noticeable when he wasn't playing. The Chiefs had a few losses in that time. He puts significant pressure on the fly half, and I think that that's going to be important in this game. He's very physical. He doesn't give away much in size, so I'm leaning that way. But yeah, I mean that is a debatable position, and I appreciate that. Let me know what you think if you disagree with any of these position and players that I've picked. So anyway, number 7, Dalton Papali'i. Again, I'm going for experience. He's had a good Super Rugby campaign as well. Also, he's a leader. He's a captain of the Blues, or between him and Patrick Tuipulotu. Dalton Papali'i has been a captain though before. He was, I guess, almost first pick over Sam Cane. Certainly there was a lot of debate about that. So Dalton Papali'i has he's pretty much been the backup to Sam Cane, so I think he deserves first crack at number 7. He's really the only other specialist 7 too. Of course, Ardie Savea, and you could argue Luke Jacobson, and they could play 7, but I think Dalton Papali'i is your out and out 7. The other reason that I'm suggesting Dalton Papali'i is also because of speed of the game. That depending on which way whether the All Blacks decide to go with the fly half or first 5, is going to give us an indication of how the game plan is going to go. But Dalton Papali'i is a specialist in outright number 7. He's going to be quicker to the ball in the breakdown, and so that's why I'm going that way. Ardie Savea at number 8, absolute no-brainer. He's got to be there somewhere. He is normally and typically number 8, so that's a pretty clear choice for me. I wouldn't change that. Why would you change that? We shouldn't meddle with things when we know what guys are capable of doing. So great to have Ardie back in the mix. For number 9, again, we've got there's only 3 halfbacks, and TJ Perenara has had an awesome Super Rugby campaign and the most experience. But however, I've gone for Finlay Christie to start. Finlay Christie was on the bench for the World Cup final. So I have gone Finlay Christie again because of who I'm predicting the All Blacks will go for at first 5/8 or fly half, and that is Damien McKenzie. So I believe between as a combination, of course, none of the halfbacks or fly halves or first 5s have played a heck of a lot together, other than say TJ Perenara and Beauden Barrett. However, I think Damien McKenzie has been the first pick. He's been the leading fly half in first 5 this year so far. Of course, Damien McKenzie was on the bench for the World Cup final as well and can cover fullback, but I think they'll go with him at fly half. Now, if we're talking about England, which we are playing against England, their line speed on defence is going to be very quick. They're going to want to shut down Damien McKenzie's time as much as they can. Damien McKenzie typically doesn't manage lack of space very well, and I would say Beauden Barrett's the same. That's again why I would be going to Finlay Christie. He's going to be the quickest halfback to the ball, and he's going to get the ball the quickest to the fly half first 5. So I think that gives Damien McKenzie just that little bit, half a second or second longer to then make his decisions from there. At number 11, on the left wing, I've got Mark Tele'a. Of course, he started there in the World Cup final. I think he is our first pick wing at the moment. He covers every area of wing play, under high ball or whatever. You've got to remember that England will kick a lot, and their tactical kicking is spot on. So Mark Tele'a, but yeah, he would be first pick on either wing probably, but left wing is his preferred position. So at second 5/8 or inside centre, we've got Jordie Barrett. That's pretty obvious as well. He's the incumbent there, and one of the best in the world in that position. He can play in other positions. But second five or inside centre is his preferred position these days. He'll be goal kicker as well, so he's got to be in the team somewhere. His partnership with Rieko Ioane, again, I'm going with experience and consistency here, where it got a hell of a challenge. Let's not shake things up too much. Rieko Ioane has just come off a successful Super Rugby campaign and winning a Super Rugby final. He played there in the World Cup final, and I think he's your man at centre or outside centre. Sevu Reece on the other wing again. This one is probably a debatable position, player at right wing. However, I've gone for Sevu Reece. He was easily the Crusaders' best player this year. He is well experienced at All Blacks level. He offers a very, very high work rate, and again, pretty good and solid under the high ball. So he'll be absolutely keen to have a good one with the All Blacks. Had a rough Crusaders campaign. So I've gone for Sevu Reece for a number of reasons there. And then I've gone 15. At 15, I've gone for, at fullback, Beauden Barrett. In the All Blacks squad, in terms of outside backs, the only real fullback in terms of the outside backs would have been Stephen Perifetta. So Beauden Barrett and Damien McKenzie were the only two fly halves or first 5/8. But I've gone Beauden Barrett at fullback. He is basically the incumbent there, played there at the World Cup final, so again, getting some consistency there as well. But between Damien McKenzie and Beauden Barrett, they can both play fullback exceptionally well. But I think Damien McKenzie will get the nod at fly half. Therefore, I think Beauden Barrett can just be solid with his experience at the back, but offer that option as well. So that's my starting 15. I stress that it's a pretty consistent team and with a lot of experience. We don't want to be, taking too many risks, I don't think, in the first test this year. So in terms of the reserves bench, I've got Asafo Aumua at backup hooker or reserve hooker. The other one was the young Crusader hooker, but he'll get his chance, but I don't think we should be blooding new players in a test match like this. Again, Samipeni Finau, he's played one test, so that goes against that. That's why the position is pretty debatable. I've got Tyrel Lomax and Tamaiti Williams as the prop reserves. Both were involved in the 23 for the Rugby World Cup final, and Tyrel Lomax could be a starter, let's be honest. And Tamaiti Williams, he's a big man. He'll scrummage well, so we're not going to lose anything there. If anything, we gain in a scrum. So, with both of those players, Tyrel Lomax is a very good scrummager. So, up against England scrum is going to be very important. That's where, let's be honest, that's where I lack in terms of my understanding, understanding of what the All Blacks coaches might look at. But certainly scrummaging has to be a high priority. And then at lock reserve, we've got Tupou Vaa'i. Tupou Vaa'i has got to be there. There's no other locks. And then I've got Luke Jacobson as the reserve loose forward. Now, that again could be very debatable, but based on the players within the squad, Luke Jacobson can play any position in the back row. He's got more experience than any other player that's left. Of course, you've got Ethan Blackadder, who I could see playing a lot more regularly as well, but I think Luke Jacobson, he's a captain for the Chiefs, and so he's a leader, but also he covers all positions in the back row. So that is why I've gone there as a reserve anyway. And TJ Perenara, no-brainer. He was the only man left in terms of a reserve halfback. He offers a lot off the bench for the All Blacks. Has played there a lot with Aaron Smith starting. So again, Finlay Christie is a similar player to Aaron Smith, so you're getting a bit of consistency there. But TJ Perenara can come off, add a bit of impact. He's a bigger body. He can defend. He can attack the ball at the ruck as well, and offers such vast experience, 80-odd tests. So I'm just grateful that he's back. Welcome back, TJ Perenara. And in terms of the other backs, of course, we've got Beauden Barrett and Damien McKenzie right in the field that can cover both fly half, first five, and fullback. Therefore, rather than going for Stephen Perifeta, I've sort of thought, well, look, we're kind of covered in those positions. If one of them gets injured, they can swap. I've suggested we go with Anton Lienert-Brown as one back reserve, because he can cover second 5'8" or inside centre. He can cover centre, and he can cover wing at a pinch. He's done that before. Doesn't quite have the pace. But he can cover a few backline positions. Again, if you went back to the starting 15, I had Jordie Barrett can cover fullback. So I feel like you don't need to cover fly half, first five, or fullback on the bench. And then the last position on the 23, I've opted for the X Factor. I believe we have a little bit of luxury there, and what better person to bring off the bench other than Caleb Clarke. So Caleb Clarke scoring 3 tries in a Super Rugby final. You have to have him in the mix somewhere. I think that form and that with such a dynamic player with a lot of size and speed coming on late in the game, with a whole bunch of tired players out there, it sounds really good to me. So that is where I've landed. I've never done this before, I must admit. An avid follower of the All Blacks, and I always talk about and debate position players and who should be picked or whatever, but this is the first time I've actually put a 23 together. I like the look of it. It gives me a lot of confidence, a lot of excitement, and still, in terms of confidence, I feel like it's solid, and we're not taking too many risks. I'm very interested to see what we actually end up with. So if you have watched this, thank you so much for doing that. And please do make any comments, disagreements, tell me what you think. It'd be good to hear from you. I love this debate, so please join in, add some comments in below. Thank you for watching, and I will make another video this week on the upcoming NRL round. Please stay tuned for that. Awesome. Thanks.